Hi guys, thank you for joining us. We're going to be starting in the book of James today. I don't know how far we'll get. Um, Last week I mentioned to you about a giveaway that is actually going to be and I think it was like going to be 3 weeks if you were interactive with the Bible study. I think they're going to start that next week. I'm not really sure. Hey Jennifer. Um, this part is kind of all that I do, so I don't really know that. But just keep watching the page, and they'll be posting updates about what's going on with that. I'm not sure that we'll be on next week or not. I'll have to let you know. Just keep watching the page. Um, the technical crew is going on the second vacation of the summer, so I can do it probably from my computer and then just share it to Church Direct, but I don't know if I can go live from my personal computer. We tried that the last time that our tech crew was on vacation and it didn't work. So I really don't know. Just watch. Um, by Saturday, we will have posted whether we'll just be sharing a recording or whether we'll just wait to the next week. So I appreciate all of your patience with us as we get started with this. But anyway, I have my own personal challenge. Um, we don't praise enough. So this doesn't necessarily have anything to do with our lesson. It does maybe a little bit, but not really. But hey, Sherry, but I challenge everybody that's watching this live or that comes across it as a recording, and I haven't asked about my backup crew about this. I just decided, but I'm sure that they don't mind. Um, I like to use those terms, backup crew, technical crew, like but anyway. But drop a praise. Share something that you're thankful for, that you thank God for. Um, okay, so anyway, we're going to start with James. We probably will not get all the way through the book, but we're going to do the whole book because it's only 5 chapters and there is so much in this book. And we'll either be doing a recording next week or we'll do it live again the next time. But anyway, James chapter 1, verse 1. James, a servant of God, of the Lord Jesus Christ, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greeting. My brethren, count it all joy when ye fall into divers temptations, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience. But let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him. But let him ask in faith, nothing wavering, for he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. For let not that man think that he shall receive anything of the Lord. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Let the brother of low degree rejoice in that he is exalted, but the rich in that he is made low, because as the flower of the grass he shall pass away. For the sun is no sooner risen with a burning heat, but it withereth the grass, and the flower thereof falleth, and the grass of the fashion of it perisheth. So it shall also, the rich man shall fade away in his ways. Well, it's talking about trials bring patience, and it also brings faith. When I'm in a stressful situation that I can't control, or I have a problem that I don't know how to solve, I would love to say, I don't stress, I don't worry about it, I take it to God, leave it there, and never think another thought about it. But that's not true. I still struggle with worrying. I still struggle with stress. But I will tell you this, the more I grow in my faith, the less that happens. So in other words, these trials and things that you go through, it will increase your patience and your faith, because you will be able to look back and see all these other times that God's brought you through. And so I think that's what that's saying. And then it goes on to talk about the rich man, and and I was listening to a sermon this week when I was walking on Ecclesiastes, and where it's saying I can do all this work, but it doesn't matter when I'm gone. Who's going to come behind me? Is it going to be somebody that keeps up my work? And that kind of made me think of this. Here's the point. We're all going to meet God one day on equal ground. So you can't take it with you, like they always say. Blessed is the man that endureth temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which the Lord hath promised to them that love him. Let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted of God, for God cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempteth he any man. But every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed. Then when lust hath conceived, it bringeth forth sin, and sin, when it is finished, bringeth forth death. Do not err, my beloved brethren. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, and cometh down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variableness, neither shadow of turning. Of his own will begat he us with the word of truth, that we should be a kind of first fruits in his creatures. So let no man, when he is tempted, say when he is tempted, I am tempted of God, for God cannot be tempted with evil. Neither tempteth he any man, but every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed. You think about that. It all starts with your mind. When we do the things we're not supposed to do, that's not God's fault. And for those of you that are old enough to remember this reference, you can't say like Flip Wilson, the devil made me do it. I believe it starts in your mind. You're tempted away by the things you think. Now, I do think that the devil knows where our weak points are, and he knows where and how to attack us. He can't read our thoughts, but he is really good at reading our actions. And so, let's say if there's something going on in my life and I'm having some thoughts that I shouldn't have, and I'm not taking control of those thoughts, sooner or later I'm going to start acting on them. Even if I don't actually follow through with the sin, I'm going to start acting in a way that's going to alert the enemy that this is a weak point for her, and then he's going to attack and make it even worse. And that's just my thoughts on how this works. But here's the thing that I would say is it all starts with what goes on up here. If you can't control what goes on up here, sooner or later, then you're going to act it out. It will manifest. So when you have these thoughts that you should not be having, don't give place to them. Pray about them and keep your mind on the things of God. Wherefore, for my brethren, the next part of this chapter talks about being hearers and doers of the word, but it also talks about the tongue. And it's kind of interesting that they put that together. And I have my theory on why that's put together, and that's going to come up later in the book. Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. In Proverbs, it talks about, seeth a man that is hasty in his words, there is more hope of a fool than of him. And this is something that I've been guilty of myself. I jump to conclusions. So you need to wait. You need to make sure you know what you're talking about before you start talking. For the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God. Wherefore lay apart all filthiness and superfluity of naughtiness, and receive with meekness the engrafted word, which is able to save your soul. But be ye doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves. For if any be a hearer of the word, and not a doer, he is like unto a man, beholding his natural face in a glass. For he beholdeth himself, and goeth his way, and straightway forgetteth what manner of man he was. But whosoever looketh into the perfect law of liberty, and continuing therein, he bringeth not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work. This man shall be blessed in his deed. If any man among you seem to be religious, and bridleth not his tongue, but deceive his own heart, this man's religion is vain. Pure religion and undefiled before God and the Father is this, to visit the fatherless and widows in their affliction, and to keep himself unspotted from the world. There is a lot there. If any man seem to be religious and bridleth not his tongue, he deceiveth his own heart. We are not saved by works. We're saved by faith. But that faith will cause us to do the things that we need to be doing. That faith will cause us to be obedient, and we'll have love. So when this thing right here, this tongue, is spewing hatred and nastiness instead of going out loving people, then you need to check your heart. And I think that's what that's saying when it And I think that's kind of why that goes together, be hearers of the word and not doers only. Anybody have anything to say about chapter 1? I mean, I know we're going through it quickly, but there's a lot to cover, and there's a lot more than there that could be brought out. So I'm going to give anybody a chance that they want to mention something or. Okay. Chapter 2. My brethren, have not the faith of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Lord of glory, with respect to persons. For if there come into your assembly a man with a gold ring and goodly apparel, and there cometh in also a poor man in vile raiment, and ye have respect to him that weareth the gay clothing, and say unto him, Sit thou here in a good place, and say to the poor, Stand thou there, or sit here under my footstool. Are you not then partial in yourselves, and are come judges of evil thoughts? Hearken, my beloved brethren, hath not God chosen the poor of this world, rich in faith and heirs of the kingdom which he hath promised to them that love him? But ye have despised the poor. Do not rich men oppress you and draw you before the judgment seat? Do not they blaspheme that worthy name by which you are called? If you fulfill the world law according to the scripture, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, you do well. But if you have respect to persons, you commit sin and are convinced of that law as transgressors. For whatsoever shall keep the whole law, and yet offend in one point, he is guilty of all. For he that saith, Do not commit adultery, said also, Do not kill. Now if thou commit no adultery, yet if thou kill, thou art become a transgressor of the law. So speak ye, and so do ye, as they speak, so that they shall be judged by the law of liberty. For he hath judgment without mercy, that hath shown no mercy, and mercy rejoiceth against judgment. A lot of this, I mean, this all just kind of goes together to me, and it all just kind of keep supporting some of the same things. The first part of this, I just kind of feel like it's saying, God is not a respecter of person. You have to, Jesus came to save everybody. So if you're showing favoritism to someone because maybe they've got a little bit more than someone else, you are not showing the love of Christ. But then I want to get into the next, pick it up with verse 14. I think it really gets good. And I know that there's more that can be gotten out of this, but I'm just kind of trying to hit some of the things that spoke to me. So anybody that wants to share, or even if you watch a recording and you want to make a comment and share something that maybe wasn't brought out, please do. What doth it profit, my brethren, though a man say he hath faith and have not works? Can faith save him? If a brother or sister be naked and destitute of daily food, and one of you say unto them, Depart in peace, be you warmed and filled, notwithstanding you give them not those things which are needful to the body, what doth it profit? Well, like we've already said, you are saved by faith, not by works. However, when you're saved and you're where you need to be, then you're going to be showing the love of Christ, and you're going to be, doing works. And I like verse 16. It says, "And what is it? What good is it doing if you say to someone in need, oh well, be warm, be full, and then you go your own way and you don't do anything to help them." So, even so, faith, if it hath not works, is dead, being alone. Yea, a man may say, Thou hast faith, and I have works. Show me thy faith without thy works, and I will show thee my faith by my works. Thou believest there is one God, thou dost well. The devils also believe and tremble. And that just goes back to something we've talked about here a lot, head knowledge. The devil knows that there's a God. You might know that there's a God, but if you don't have a heart knowledge, a saving knowledge of Jesus, then, you're not saved. And if you have that saving knowledge, you're not always going to be perfect. You're not going to always do everything right or the way you should, but you're going to have compassion and for people. You might not be called to work in every ministry there is. Sometimes I hear like people get aggravated because, they say they're a Christian, but they don't want to be part of this. Well, maybe they're not called to be part of that, but they're called to be part of something. And so they should be doing something. And even if maybe your ministry that you're doing is not for them, they can still support you in prayer and have compassion. In our Sunday school lessons, for this past month, we've been talking about the difference in tolerance and compassion. We got to stop tolerating all that's wrong in this world, but we never can stop having compassion for the people in the world. I read an article the other day, and it was talking about this transgender person, and they're like, well, of course they were saying that it wasn't their choice to be that way, and of course it is, because God did not make them that way. But they were saying, why would I choose this in this life? And it was talking about the misery that they go through. You can have compassion for that person, because that person's obviously in a horrible place, and they need Jesus, and they need hope, and the only hope is Jesus. But you can't tolerate the lifestyle. You see what I'm saying? There's a difference between tolerance and compassion. But anyway, I kind of got sidetracked there a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and skip and go into chapter 3, because I think we can finish chapter. Because like I said, it's a short book, and I know there's so much more. I'm just hitting the things that spoke to me personally when I read this. But it's open for any of the ladies here with me or that are with us live to please jump in and share their thoughts, or bring out something that I might not, that I might be skipping over. But I like 3. It talks about the tongue a little bit more in depth. My brethren, be not many masters, knowing that we shall receive the greater condemnation. For in many things we offend all. If any man offend not in word, the same as a perfect man, and also able to bridle the whole body. We've all been offended, and we've all offended people with our tongue. Be forgiving when someone offends you in that way, because you've also done it. Behold, we put bits in the horse's mouth that they may obey us, and we turn about their whole body. Behold also the ships, which though they be so great and are driven of fierce winds, yet are they turned around about with this very small helm, whatsoever thou governor listeth. Even so the tongue is a little member, and boasteth great things. Behold, how great a matter a little fire kindleth. And the tongue is a fire, a word of iniquity. So is the tongue among our members, that it defileth the whole body, and setteth on fire the course of nature. Hold on just a second. And is set on fire of hell. And it's just talking about there, how the tongue is a small thing, but it has a lot of control. In Proverbs, it says, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and then that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. And this is kind of a battle that I have. Well, let me finish reading this part. For the tongue can no man tame. It is an unruly evil, full of deadly poisons. Therewith bless we God, even the Father, and therewith curse we men, which are made after the similitude of God. Out of the mouth, proceedeth blessing and cursing, and my brother, these things ought not to be. When I see your social media page and it's filled with curse words, and then the next thing is loving Jesus, yeah, that's blessing and cursing coming out of the same mouth. But I don't think it also just necessarily means cursing. I think it means the way we speak, not just the words we use. And let me finish this few verses and explain what I mean. Doth a fountain send forth at the same time sweet water and bitter? Can the fig tree, my brethren, bear olive berries, either a vine, figs? Can no fountain both yield salt and fresh? Going back up to the talking about the power that the tongue has and speaking blessing or curses, I have a battle of that myself. I don't speak blessings into my own life. Whenever something goes wrong, I'm normally like, oh, great, right now. That's kind of something that is my first reaction. I'm working on that, though. But I also see people, and this is not me, or at least I hope this is not me, that don't speak the right things into other people's life. And I'll give you an example. Several years ago, the church I was a member at, we were talking one day, and recently a child in Florida had been killed. The mother had let the child walk to a friend's house, and it was heartbreaking. I mean, this mother's facing the worst tragedy a mother can face. I don't remember how old the child was. This was many, many, many years ago. I do remember the child's age was something I probably wouldn't have let her walk, but she was old enough that it wasn't a ridiculous idea, and then I didn't know the neighborhood and how safe or not safe it was. But we might not have known this mother personally and been able to personally do something for her, but we could have been praying for her. And the words that could have come out of our mouth could have been words of compassion. The words that were coming out of the mouths of these ladies that I was listening to their conversation was, and they get that look in the tone, the one I'm talking about. I wasn't only letting my youngin' walk that far by herself. A mother just lost a child. A kid is dead. That's bitterness. It says, talking about, does a fountain send forth sweet and bitter water? I mean, you're sitting in church doing the Lord's work while you're showing so much judgment and lack of compassion for a woman you've never met and probably never will meet, who just lost a child.
Right. Why is that our first response? Our first response should have been heartbrokenness. And if later things came out that made, somebody responsible, then you can have some righteous anger. But at that point, there was nothing but judgment.
Right.
It wasn't about anything.
Right.
Have no compassion.
No compassion whatsoever.
I'm a mother. I don't ever want to hear of a mother losing a child.
Right. Right. Me either.
Because I think that's the worst possible thing that could happen to a mother.
Right. I kind of think, I had said something earlier in one of the previous chapters about what, they're kind of grouping tongue and doing good things together. And I think that kind of goes together, because what is in your heart is going to be what you do and what comes out of your mouth. And sometimes people can be doing the right things, but if they're not doing them for the right reasons, it's still going to come out of their mouth. I worked with a lady one time, and she was a church lady, and they were active in their church. So she did the right things, but she spoke judgment about everybody that crossed her path, and everything was, well, I wouldn't be doing that. Well, I'm going to tell you, this is, like anybody that might have had an issue. Well, I'm doing it because you see these people, they get that look in their tone on their face, and it's always the same. That, well, I wouldn't. Well, you don't know because you're not there. I remember before I had children, I had friends who had children, and I said, oh, my kid will never do that. Every one of those things, guess what? My kid did. So don't ever do that. You don't know what they're going through. And if you're professing to be a Christian, while your hands are over here, obviously for the wrong reason, doing the things you're supposed to be doing, but behind their back, you're speaking that kind of judgment. Be careful your speech is showing who you truly are. So the rest of that chapter is, and then we'll finish up, and we'll try to do 4 and 5. 4 and 5 are going to go really, really quick, so we might. But anyway, who is a wise man and endued with knowledge among you? Let him show out of a good conversation his works with meekness of wisdom. But ye have bitter envy and strife in your hearts. Glory not, and lie not against the truth. This wisdom descendeth not from above, but is an earthly, sensual, devilish. For where envy and strife is, there is confusion in every evil work. But the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, and easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy. And the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace to them that make peace. We all have things in our hearts sometimes that don't need to be there. I mean, even Christians, we let things fester. We have anger sometimes, we have hurt sometimes, we have resentment sometimes, and we have to deal with those things. And you know what? Sometimes it's not just like that. Sometimes you have to keep going to God in prayer, and you have to keep going back. And sometimes it can be a process. But if you're not even pretending to deal with these things and take them to God and leave them there, but you need to do that. And I kind of think like it's saying, this earthly wisdom will tell you to do, like the example of that lady I was talking about. Go do these right things, but don't worry about your heart as long as you're doing the right things. But that's not the way it is. I'm not telling you not to do right things and sometimes, like I said, there might be a struggle in your heart, and it might take a little bit, and I don't know if I'm wording this right. I mean, I know that you might have a lot of things that you might have to, let's just take someone who's been abused. They get saved and they've got anger, which they should have against their abuser. But something that deep, I mean, yes, can they pray and be able to give it to God and it be gone immediately? Yeah, but more than likely it's something they're going to have to stay in prayer about. You know, so I'm not saying that our hearts are always perfect at all times, but we know that, and we'll work. You know, it's something that we work on, as opposed to someone who never gives it another thought about what they might be harboring in their heart, because what you're harboring in your heart is going to come out of your mouth. And I hope this makes some kind of sense, what I'm trying to say. But that's we're going to stop there. But what I would summarize what we've read so far is we're going to go through trials. Nobody wants to. It'll never be easy. But it is, if no other purpose, it is to increase your faith, because I can honestly say that I do have an easier time, because I can look back and say, well, God has stepped in every time. Well, I wasn't in this time. I would also say that if you're truly saved, and that's how you get saved, is by faith. If you're truly saved, you're going to be obedient. You're going to be compassionate and loving to other people. I'm not saying you'll always be perfect, but you'll be compassionate and loving to other people. This you will never control, but you will have to work on it, and you will have to realize that what's in here is going to come out of here. And watch this, because what's in here, if you dwell on it, is going to be what you start acting on. Anybody else got anything they want to say?
Is that talking about being compassionate? I mean, wasn't that what Jesus said? A new commandment I give you, to love one another as I have loved you.
Right.
That's pretty compassionate.
Right.
He died for us.
Right. Absolutely. All right. And just watch, and we'll let you know what might be going on next week. All right.
So we're going to continue the next time that we meet.
Well, what I was telling them was we didn't know if we'd be live next week, or if we might do just share a recording to Church Direct page, or if we just wait. We haven't quite figured that out.
Oh, okay.
But 4 and 5 will go really quick, so if I can just share a recording, because I don't think I can do it live, because we tried that before. Then I just might do like a quick kind of, but we'll by Saturday it'll be on the page, and you'll know what's going on.
And so will the details. Since we probably won't be live for sure next week, the giveaway will start the next week. You will listen in and interact. It doesn't have to be a lot, but just ask questions or share your opinions. And then we also ask that each week you invite 3 of your Facebook friends to join you.
Right.
They don't have to join for you to be entered, but that will give you more than one entry. We'll explain the details in writing.
Right. All right. Have a blessed week.